Okay, so I've got a problem with my black tank monitor. It's not working. You see it says 0. Of course, it actually is 0 right now, but no matter what, how much is in there. In fact, I was just flushing it after a long trip and I filled the black tank. Still shows 0. So it was that way the whole trip. A little bit frustrating, but we don't boondock much. We stay in the park, so you know, flushing it every day. It's a 40-gallon tank, and that has been fine. But obviously you want it to work. So what I'm going to do is I've identified the valve or the pressure switch that monitors the tank level. It used to be they were stuck on the outside of the tank and they would look, and some of them still are. A lot of them are still that way actually. But once you get into the higher end coaches and trailers and so on, you're going to find that they use a pressure monitor, which is right there. That gadget right there. And you put that in, you calibrate it, and it just uses the water pressure. It knows how big the tank is, and it uses the pressure to estimate the tank level. Well, then mine's not working, so I'm going to take that out. I've flushed the tank now really well. You do that here with the sewage rinse. That's a fresh water hose. I've emptied it out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that sending unit or switch or whatever you want to call it. I guess it's not a switch, be a sending unit. I'm going to take that out, clean it off, put it back. There it is there. Put it back and see if that solves the problem. Okay, I can't get a wrench in here, so I'm going to have to use the channel locks. Let's get the cable off the end of it. Wire. Wow, that's nice and tight. Okay, got the wire off. Now, as part of this, there's also a little circuit board right up there. That's part of the switch. So it actually has a little intelligence to it. Okay, I've got a 15/16 socket with a swivel on it. That should get it out. There it goes. Wasn't really that tight. I just made that grunting noise because I was worried about breaking something. I always hate dealing with these plastic fittings. All right, should be able to screw that out now. All right, there we go. Nothing's leaking out, which is great. There we go. So there's what we got. I'm not a RV tech, so I can't tell you if that looks normal or looks dirty. But I'm going to clean it out with some brake cleaner. Get that just a little cleaned up. Shoot a little more brake cleaner on it just to make sure I didn't get some particles down in there from the wire wheel. All right, I'll hit that with some compressed air, clean it out. I don't know how fragile that is, so reluctant to use too much air pressure. But I'll use a little just to dry it off. Okay, I got the sending unit cleaned out now. Let me clean out the other end here. I should have a light in it. It looks pretty cruddy. I can blow it out with some air. That's just an elbow. I could also just take that elbow out and get it clean. I think that's what I'm going to do, because if I blow air, I'm really just going to blow it back in there and all that crud back into the tank. Okay, I'm back with a wrench. Looks like it's 3/4. Not that I know that from looking. I just tried a few and spared you the footage of me trying a bunch of different wrenches. But I got a stubby 3/4 here that's gonna work. Let me get that. There we go. This is encouraging. I say encouraging because if this solves my problem, I'm not having to buy the sending unit. All kind of nasty goodness coming out there.
Okay.
So I still have some gunk down in there. Let's see if I can get a light where you can see it. See that? Even after blowing air through it. So I'll get something and get that out. Maybe a piece of wire. Probably start with a drill bit by hand or something. But I want to get that crud out. Well, you can see that, but still a little bit of kind of crusty on the sides of that elbow. I don't think that's a problem because remember, nothing flows through here, it's just pressure. So we just need the tank pressure to, well, if this goes in the tank this end, we just need the tank pressure to reach the sending unit. Okay, got that elbow clean to my satisfaction. Let's get the sealant off of here. Now let's see. Got some tape on it. Let's get that going. Looks like I can get one more turn to get it in the position I need it to be in. Perfect. Okay. Here's our sending unit. Teflon. Very tight working in here, but at least I don't have to pull the tank. That was my fear, that I would have to pull the tank or remove a bunch of panels. Got a long extension, a couple of long extensions actually. Let's get that in there. Should be tight enough. I think I've moved it a little bit. All right, so now the thing to do is run some water in the tank. So I've got the hose hooked up already because I had rinsed out my sewer, my black tank, I should say. More correctly, your sewer consists of black and gray. Black drain from the toilets and gray from everything else. Okay, so as you can see, it reads 0, which it should. It's empty right now. I'm going to put some water in it. We'll watch the gauge and see if we've made any progress. Okay, so one more thing we have to do here before we test our work is we have to calibrate that back to 0. So I'm here in the Silverly system inside the coach. If I go to, let's see if this will work with my gloves, yeah. Config. Let's see, let me find it. Not tank configuration. There we go. See if I can get where there's no glare. Okay, so black tank calibrate. What we do is you make sure it's empty, which of course we know it is. Push that. There, I heard a little click. Now, I would love for it to give you some feedback. It doesn't seem to, other than the click. But it says there, when empty, press to calibrate. Okay, I've set the calibration. Now the black is going back and forth between 1 and 0, and that's okay. That's something. We'll turn the water on, and what we're looking for is that black to start climbing up. It's a 40-gallon tank, so it'll take just a little bit. It's not exact, it's an estimate of the fill. But there we go. I'm running water into the sewage rinse. You could also just go flush the toilet or run a hose down the toilet, I suppose, but no need to do that since we have this sewage rinse. Okay, still nothing. Surely we've got a gallon or more in there by now. Still no reading. Okay, nothing happening yet. Surely we have 3 or 4 gallons in there by now, I would think. Hey, now we've gone from 1 to 2 to 3. So, seems like we should have seen something sooner. Maybe that's a calibration issue. The fact that I didn't get any feedback when I calibrated that makes me wonder if it actually did calibrate it. I may research that a little bit, but we are getting something. I suppose if I want to be scientific, I should have got a gallon jug and see how long it took to fill it with my particular hose and water pressure here, so I could estimate how long it might take to fill this tank. But we are going up, so that is great. It's not worked at all. It's been just on 0, and now we're up to 4. Those numbers, by the way, are percent, not gallons. So 5%, it's a 40-gallon tank, so that'd be 2 gallons. I feel like probably put more than 2 gallons in it so far, but maybe not. I don't know what restrictions might be in that sewage wrench plumbing, and my hose is about 100 feet from the hose bib on my house, so that's not ideal either. Well, here we go, we're climbing, so that's encouraging. Now the gauge, the signal from the sending unit, I should say, also goes to the toilets. They're smart toilets. There's 2 toilets in this coach, and it has a hands-free indicator. You kind of wave your hand over to flush the toilets, but on that indicator there is a warning that will tell you when the black tank's getting full. And so that's really handy. And then at some point when it's really full, it won't let you flush the toilet anymore, which is great because it's only the 2 toilets that fill this black tank. And if they don't allow you to flush them when it's full, that greatly reduces or eliminates the risk that you are going to overflow your black tank, which would not be fun. So here we go, we're up to 10. It's looking good. As I said, I've never got any reading at all before, so we'll just let this go a while, see what happens. I've rinsed this tank real thoroughly, and so if I do end up overflowing it a little bit by forcing this water in this rinse, it won't be the end of the world, because it'll just be, you know, pretty much fresh water that potentially leaks out somewhere. You know, the tank, of course, is waterproof, but once you get above the tank, that stuff's watertight too, the pipes that go to the toilet, but it's not meant to hold standing water. Just like the wax seal under your home toilet, you know, it's not meant to hold standing water. It's meant for water to just run by it. So it is possible I could get a little leak, so if we overfill the tank. All right, we're at 13%, so it's looking good. I think we may have solved the problem. The next road trip we'll know for sure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to monitor inside in the toilet just to make sure we don't overfill it, because it seems like it's filling up slow. Like I say, it's a 40-gallon tank. It's taken us 5 minutes or so just to get to 15%. And then maybe that's exactly right. And so let's go around to the back of the toilet here just to make sure we don't see anything. I don't imagine we would, but let's take a look. Here's the emergency egress door, which happens to be right here at the toilet. So we can look around here. I don't see any water, although I certainly wouldn't expect it to be full yet. Yeah, looking good. I like that we have a reading. I'm gonna stop the video and fill it up, and I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch this tick up slowly. So back inside the coach, we're still letting it fill up. As you can see, the black says 30%, so we are progressing nicely. Back to one of the stool rooms here. One of the things that, sorry for bouncing you around here. One of the things that you hear that noise, that is air getting pushed out of the tank. So here's it's a Dometic emaciating toilet. It's ceramic. They're very nice. People don't talk about toilets a lot, so I'm happy to do that. This is a hands-free flush. I can wave my hand just close to it, and it flushed. And it's kind of loud. That's the emaciator, which is basically like a garbage disposal. So we will get a sign right here that'll tell us, or a little indicator that will tell us when it's getting full. And then when it's full, it will no longer let it flush. So that's nice. So this is hands-free. You see the little wave symbol there, but if you don't like that, I know that sometimes this is the mid-bath stool room. It's quite small. And sometimes if you come in here to do your business and you sit down, you can accidentally flush it. And if you were boondocking and really concerned about water, that could be irritating. So you could turn that off, and then you would just push that button to flush it. The add water button, oops, of course I flushed it again, which is fine. The add water button, what that's for is if you got a job to do in here that's, you know, not just liquid, let's say, you're gonna do a little download, then you want to push that add water button. Normally it's not much water in the bowl, as we can see here. That's the normal rate. But if I push the button there, right here, I can increase that water level, and that helps me get a better flush and kind of keep the bowl a little cleaner. So things nobody wants to talk about, but I'm happy to talk about it. So you just hold it down, and it will stop. It won't overflow. So that's about it right there. So now you've got a good amount of water, kind of like the old school toilets we had before the 1.6 liter per flush or whatever it is rule came in. So we're still filling up. You still hear that little bit of buzzing noise, the air being purged from the tank. Another silver leaf panel right here. Let's go to water. All right, we're coming along nicely. We've got 43%. It's great. Haven't seen that thing work in a while. So save me the $300. Hopefully, it looks like it's going to work. What I'm waiting for now is I want to see that my toilet indicator tells me that it's almost full, and in fact that it does get full, and then see if that coincides with the tank reading of at or near 100%. Like I say, now's the time to test it when I've flushed it very well, and I'm now filling it with clean water. So if I do have any overflows or issues, it'll be clean water, so it won't be so bad. So if I haven't mentioned it, or you're curious, this is a Mountain Aire made by Newmar. It's in 2021, and it is a model 4551. But I'm sure these same pressure sensors for black and gray tanks are used in a lot of higher end coaches. And who knows, maybe they moved down to the not so higher end by now, as opposed to the sensors that stick on the side of the tank and just kind of give you a reading of quarters, you know, 25, 50, 75, and so on. Now, the downside, as we're seeing right here, those that stick on the side of the tank don't get dirty because they stick on the side of the translucent tank, and they're never in the waste. Where this pressure sensor, as you see, gets plugged up with crap. And when I say crap, I mean that in the literal sense. It's not a big job, wasn't a hard job to do it, but had you taken that to the shop, my goodness, what would that cost you? You know, maybe they would just replace the sensor straight away, but the sensor's $300, labor $100, $125, even $150 per hour now. You can't blame them sometimes for just swapping parts because, you know, the time they spend a couple hours troubleshooting, they're going to spend your money either way. So, you know, and then the worst part about putting a coach in the shop is you never know when you get it back. These shops are so busy, and a lot of times the parts take a long time to get. And so when you send your RV to the shop, you don't know when you're going to get it back. Might be a week, might be a month. You know, I've heard 4 or 5 months sometimes when people are waiting on hard to get parts, especially during the pandemic era. And we're still not recovered from that. It's still hard to get a lot of parts. So it looks like we're filling up nicely. This is our rear stool. It's the same stool with the same indicator there, or whatever we call in that panel. So this is that egress door that they put in. It's nice for an emergency. If for some reason you couldn't get out the front door, you've got an alternate way to get out of the coach. So let's see how we're doing. Check our, looks like we've got 58%. Okay, so here's that warning I was telling you about. It says tank level. If you can see it there. That came on when our black tank was 75%. So we're up to 76, 77. So 75%, you get a warning And when the tank is full, which I assume is at 100 or near 100, it will disable the toilets. So we're at 85%. We continue to watch everything, make sure we have no leaks, that we're not actually higher than 87. I'm also wanting to see at what point we have the tank level light, at what point does it disable the stool. And the other thing I was going to say, I was talking about one possible disadvantage of this pressure switch is that the sensors, rather than be on the outside of the tank like the kind of older or less expensive style, it's actually plumbed into the tank, as you saw, and it can get dirty. However, one distinct advantage is that with the sensors on the outside of the tank, it's critical that you be level to get an accurate reading. Where with this pressure sensor, it should not matter. The pressure wouldn't change at any angle of the tank, is at least what I think. If somebody thinks that's not true, let me know. Okay, so we see that it's turned red now, say 93%, and the numbers turned red. And let's go back to here and see. If it gets to 100, without this indicator changing here, I'll probably turn it off anyway. I don't want to overflow it. But what I'd like to see is when it changes, or even if it does. I think it does. It seems like I remember, or I read, oh, there it goes. Now it says tank level and it turned red. So now we're in serious trouble. And here it's saying 100%, so I need to go turn that off real quick. Okay, so it appears we solved our problem. It now says 100%. And so I've turned the water off here at the valve. So I will disconnect this and get this out of the way. This is just the standard rinse, but that's what I was using to fill the black tank. And this only fills the black tank. It doesn't rinse the gray tank. I guess the theory is you probably wouldn't need to rinse the gray tank very often. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is open the valve here and go ahead and drain it out. Now, here we have our RV SantaCon, which is the basically garbage disposal. It grinds everything up. My tank was clean, so I don't need that, and it will gravity feed, and that's a little loud. So I'm just gonna open this up, and that will start flushing. And what I'm gonna do is watch for the level to go down, and we can see it is, so it's ticking down. So I think our problem is solved, and we will get this drained and buttoned up.